Good morning, good people. Welcome back to Collector's Quest, and thank you so much for joining me on another gaming adventure. Me and my partner are just getting ready to get the car loaded for our weekend break down in Tiverton in Devon, Exeter. And of course, over the weekend, your boys got to take care of business, so retro game shops, CEXs, they are all on the agenda for this weekend. And I've managed to conveniently route our map to go past some fantastic retro gaming shops and a couple of CEXs. So let's get the bags ready, get the car loaded, and I'll catch you on the first stop of this weekend break. Right, so we're at the first stop, which is Retro Sect in Tewkesbury, but not too sure where it is, so let's have a look. Finally finding Retro Sect, stepping in, as you can see, a ton of nerd culture, memorabilia, gaming, all that great stuff. And the first thing I took a look at was Sengoku Basara Samurai Heroes on the PlayStation 3. This one was brand new and sealed, priced at £60, and as you can see by the gameplay, it's a Muso style game, tons of enemies and tons of carnage, but I don't collect sealed, and this game goes for £20 at CEX, so maybe one day we'll pick it up at CEX. Then we've got this amazing Game Boy kiosk. This is the first thing that hits you as you walk into the shop, and it's a stunning piece. What an amazing console. Good selection of PlayStation 2 games and a lot more of your common titles on the PlayStation 3. Always good stuff and a good selection of games here. Obviously the rarest stuff is behind the till, and there was some bangers here. So had a very rare Japanese PSP console here. Can't remember what the game was called, but something I've never seen before, and a couple of original sealed PlayStation 2 games here.
Well, there's a tool one and a test one, and the tool one is actually the debugger, and that one is the one that would have been used to do playtests in the studios. So most studios would have.
Retro Sec also has a couple of classic cars. Not my bag, but definitely something you don't see at your typical retro gaming shop. Man, this shop's so cool. Just tons of cool stuff in here. Awesome space. Could spend so many hours here, but come on, let's get back to it. A great selection of Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, and some of these were in very nice condition. I mean, these like press releases and these like demo discs, and you just don't see them anymore, do you? No. Like, they're so uncommon. So that was Retro Sec. Great shop run by a top guy, real friendly, and great stock in there. And pretty cool to see cars. I'm not massively into cars, but still very cool to see nonetheless. Gonna get back in the car now and get back on the road. Next stop is Taunton. So, Retro Sec, man, I absolutely love that shop. Run by a top guy in Ben, who was so accommodating, such a friendly person, and made me feel so welcome walking into that shop, and was like, yeah, film whatever you want. Film this, film that. He was so nice, and the shop almost felt like an extension of all of Ben's passions in video games and old vintage cars, and he even had a little section in the shop that was dedicated to his own personal collection where things aren't for sale, and it just showed his clear passion of video games. Had a great chat with him about game collecting, playing video games, and I could have spent a lot more time there, but time was against me. But I can't recommend that shop enough, guys. It's so cool going in there. Such a unique space, and to see video games, kiosks, vintage cars, just amazing. So definitely get yourself down to Retro Sec in Tewkesbury. So I picked up 2 video games, and these games definitely reflect a shift in my collecting habits, because a couple of months ago I would not have touched these games or these versions of these games. Sounds quite ominous, but I'll explain. So first pickup was Tao's Adventure Curse of the Demon Seal, and that cost me £20 on the Nintendo DS. And this is basically a JRPG dungeon crawler, and had a look at some gameplay, and it looked fairly decent. You've got quests, you can train monsters akin to Pokemon, so I figured for £20 it's got the Konami seal of approval, so must be half decent. And as you can see, this is actually a NTSE copy, American. And the great thing about DS and 3DS is that they're actually region free, so you can play NTSC games from the DS on a PAL 3DS. The same isn't true for NTSC 3DS games. Those are region locked, if that makes sense. So you can play NTSC DS games on a PAL 3DS, but you can't do the same for NTSC 3DS games on a PAL 3DS. Hopefully that makes sense. And this goes for around £40 on eBay for the PAL copy, so I figured for £20 it's a great price. And I've actually got quite a few NTSC DS games. That's how I experienced Chrono Trigger, and that cost me like £40, and that's like upwards of £100. So it's a real great way of picking up some fairly good DS games on the cheap, and you can play them fully on your PAL 3DS, so look into that. And then in a similar vein to this pickup, this is Wild Arms 5 on the PlayStation 2, and this cost me £90, and it looks like to be a very interesting Western cowboy JRPG. I've got the first one on the PlayStation 1, and I'm on the lookout for 2, 3 and 4. I've got 5, so done it in a weird order. As you can see, this is PAL, but I'm not sure if you can tell, but this is actually a French copy, so writing's in French, the all-important spine is in English, and the manual is also in French. And the reason why I was happy to pick this up for £90, the UK PAL copy of this goes for £180 at CEX, but that price is completely irrelevant. It's never in stock at CEX, and the last one I could find on eBay that sold went for £300, and I ain't about to buy a JRPG that I don't really know a ton about for £300 with cash. So this is a good way to pick up some more affordable JRPGs, you know, like I did on a couple of videos ago with Silent Hill Shattered Memories on the PlayStation 2. A couple of months ago, I kind of stuck my nose up in the air about, you know, foreign copies and games that wasn't in English in terms of, you know, the cover and the manual. But at the end of the day, you play the game, not the cover art and not the actual case. And as long as the spine's in English and it doesn't break up my shelves, I'm more than happy to pick up French, Italian, German. As long as it's PAL, it's all good in my books. And for, you know, a third of the price, for £90, a good price to pay for that. So really happy with adding that to the PlayStation 2 collection. And those are my two pickups from RetroSec. Like I said, get yourself down to RetroSec in the Tewkesbury area. Got social media, Instagram, Facebook, website, all that good stuff, and I can't recommend that shop enough. And hopefully in the future we'll go there when we've got time on our side, and we'll take a proper good look around RetroSec. Just arrived in Taunton, and the drive wasn't too bad here, just really busy in Bristol on the motorway. Just walking up to the CEX and the wildest shop, which has got plenty of Jellycat, so I'm happy and the missus is happy, so happy days. First CEX on this trip was Taunton. Taking a look at a very dusty, dirty window. We got a Spider-Man PlayStation 4 console, lovely piece here, and they also had a decent condition box PlayStation 1. Taking a look inside, a couple of more expensive Pokemon games here. Pokemon Heart Gold for £250. They also had this cool 3DS XL console for Pokemon Sun and Moon, £300, very expensive but very cool. One of the better PS Vita selections I've seen in a CEX, and if I did collect for it, I would definitely pick up Tales of Hearts R. Obviously a Tales game, JRPG, everything that I'm into as a gamer, but I no longer collect for the PS Vita, so I left it behind. Nice Last of Us Part 2 console for the PlayStation 4 Pro, and a couple of more expensive PlayStation 3 games. Shout out to Blaze of Time. So got the goods, but Taunton CEX, nothing much going on in there, fairly basic, but I was in there for a good 25 minutes just queuing. Like, everyone in the queue was buying iPhones and then getting to the till and asking questions about the phone. It's like, how can you spend £400 on a phone and not know the basics of what it does? Crazy, but got a fairly uncommon PlayStation 3 game, so it's all good. Just walking to the UK's biggest bear shop, Wilder Bears, to meet the missus to buy some Jellycat. So yeah, wish me luck. So after waiting for about 30 minutes, it was painful in there. I managed to pick up a fairly uncommon JRPG on the PlayStation 3, and to be fair, it's the only thing in there worth picking up. It wasn't a great CEX Taunton, you know, been there, done it. If you've been to a handful of CEXs, you've pretty much seen everything that Taunton had to offer, apart from a couple of rarer PlayStation 3 games. You know, like any CEX, it's only as good as the stocking on that day, and maybe today wasn't, you know, a good day in terms of what I'm after for my collecting and gaming sensibilities, but I picked up a copy of Time and Eternity on the PlayStation 3 for £72. Comes complete with the all-important manual, and this one has been on my list for quite a while for the PlayStation 3, so obviously JRPG, you know, every single video I'm picking up a JRPG. Very interesting graphics and a very cool looking combat system, and I'm always intrigued to see why these JRPGs got so expensive. I'm guessing rarity, scarcity, all of those things that make any video game expensive. So very happy with that, and if you do want to pick this up, you can pick it up on eBay for about £50. This seems to be one of those examples where CEX actually have it mispriced when compared to eBay. I paid £72 with those sweet vouchers, of course, and I could have sold my vouchers and picked it up on eBay for a bit cheaper, but who can be bothered, right? So happy with that. Good one to add to the PlayStation 3 collection. As you can see, breathtaking ride, just so remote, in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, absolutely peaceful, can't even hear anything right. Didn't do any filming last night, got here about 6 o'clock and was knackered from the driving, so just spent time with my partner, Diego Damo, Jess. But yeah, just so relaxing. Plan for today is to head to Exeter, another CEX, and there's also a retro gaming shop in Tiverton, so hopefully we'll hit that up and have a look at what's cracking there. But yeah, I think I'm gonna enjoy the view a bit more, so I'll catch you guys later. We looked into a couple of the charity shops and we found this Sega Saturn arcade racing steering wheel, priced at £15, and it is £12 at CEX, so no money to be made in terms of flipping it in for those sweet vouchers, but pretty cool to see this in a charity shop. I remember coming to Tiverton quite a few years ago and this shop was around Guardian Games, but unfortunately it shut down, so hopefully the owners have moved to somewhere else, but never a good sign when you see a closed retro gaming shop. Here we are outside Game Hut. Let's go and take a look. Stepping into Game Hut, as you can see, a great selection of PlayStation 2 games and a very healthy selection of PlayStation 4 games. As you saw in my last video, I'm a massive fan of PlayStation 4, so definitely go and check out that video. And Retro Hut also had a ton of Warhammer, Pokemon cards and Magic the Gathering cards. Going over to the glass cabinet where the more expensive stuff is kept, Far Cry 3 Insane Edition, nice piece, but cardboard wasn't in the best condition here. And a couple of heavy hitting games on the PlayStation 1, Tomby for £195, Manhunt 2 £110, and also a rarer Resident Evil game, Resident Evil Survivor 2. Good selection of GameCube, nothing I'm in the market for at the moment, and a decent selection of some Super Nintendo cardboard and Nintendo NES cardboard. Decent selection of Nintendo Switch games, but nothing I'm currently on the lookout for. And speaking of Magic the Gathering, had some Final Fantasy and Magic the Gathering cards. These sold like hotcakes. They're going for silly money on eBay, and I was thinking about picking them up. Pretty cool shop, to be fair, and I'm thinking about the Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering cards, but don't know if I need to pull the trigger on £65. Thinking about it. Game Hut in Tiverton. Decent shop, to be fair. Didn't pick up anything, but any retro gaming shop is always good in my books, and I love going around different shops and just seeing what they got on the shelves. And man, those Final Fantasy and Magic the Gathering cards are playing heavy on my mind, and even on the last day leaving Tiverton. I was thinking, do we go back there? Do I pick them up? And I just thought, you know what, I don't need to pick them up. I can enjoy them from afar. I can see people on YouTube opening them, enjoying them, and sometimes as a collector, you have to accept that you can't have everything in your collection, and collecting is also as much about not picking up things as it is picking up things for your collection. And I just thought for £65, it's a rabbit hole I don't need to jump down. As you can see, I've already got enough rabbit holes I'm jumping down, and I don't need to start collecting Magic the Gathering cards and spending a lot of money on getting rare cards for my Final Fantasy collection. So I left them, and I think ultimately I'm good with my decision, but there was nothing else really in Game Huts that tickled my fancy on that day. Cool stuff in there, but nothing that I needed to spend my hard-earned cash on, so we move on to the next one. A fairly big CEX in Exeter, and taking a look, a lovely collection of Persona dancing games on the PS4. Already got it in my collection, but you love to see it. A dirty cover reprint for Killzone HD on the PlayStation 3. Still priced at £110, which is ridiculous, right? Sell it for a reduced price, not £110. And stepping into Exeter, a great selection of JRPGs and visual novel games on the PS Vita. If I was collecting for that system, I would have picked up all of these without a doubt. A great selection and games that you don't typically see in a CEX on the PS Vita. A couple of more expensive PlayStation 2 games. Big shout out to Persona 4 on the PlayStation 2, great game. And I did have my eyes on Shin Megami Tensei Redux for the Nintendo 3DS, but didn't quite have enough vouchers, so I had to leave it behind, unfortunately. We then went to this small CEX in Exmouth. As you can see, very small. This was the entire Nintendo Switch section, and as you can see, very small. Couple of retro bits, but as I mentioned, quite a small CEX, so nothing for me on this occasion. So the final two CEXs we went to was Exeter and Exmouth, and I gotta say, Exeter as a whole was pretty poor, to be fair. I weren't impressed by the city at all. I mean, my partner wanted to go there and it looked pretty nice on the pictures, but getting in there, it weren't great. I mean, apologies to anyone who lives in Exeter, but I mean, Worcester's a lot better in terms of an old kind of city with a cathedral, and even the CEX weren't much, you know, to speak about, to be fair. You know, nothing crazy jumping out at me on the shelves, and yeah, very disappointing. The one thing that, again, I wish I would have picked up, but I'm kind of glad I didn't, was that copy of Shin Megami Tensei Redux on the Nintendo 3DS, and I just didn't have enough vouchers. I spent the majority of my vouchers on Time and Eternity on the PlayStation 3, and I had about £20 on a voucher, so it would have meant spending £90 cash, and I just thought, look, I've always got those sweet vouchers. We're always out there at the car boot sales, and it's just about patience. I know I'll find that game again in the future, and I'll have the vouchers, and I feel so much happier adding it to my collection for about £30–40 to acquire the vouchers to pick it up. So you've got to be patient, you've got to, you know, trust in the process and collect in a way that is budget friendly according to your finances. And on that particular day, I just wasn't willing to spend £90 cash, but someday we'll add Shin Megami Tensei Redux to the 3DS collection. Then we went to Exmouth, and again, not a great town, to be fair. Typical seaside, arcades, fish and chip shops, a couple of tat shops, but yeah, probably not one worth going to again in the future. And the CEX, not great, to be fair, guys. I mean, one of those, isn't it? Maybe Devon, Somerset hasn't got a massive scene in terms of retro video game collecting, but nah, not much going on in there. Very small, like a postage stamp, but sometimes you win some and you lose some, and I always recommend going into any CEX if you're in the local area, because it just takes that one find to turn your day upside down and make it into a great day. But that day wasn't to be, so we left Exeter and Exmouth CEX empty-handed. So that was everything that we picked up on our little weekend break in Somerset in Tiverton. Great break, had a great time with my partner, with mates, and just feel so relaxed and in a great tranquil atmosphere, and just love the environment, just love the scenic views, the walks, and just completely switching off from the grind that's day-to-day life throws at us, and just always being on the hamster wheel at work, you know, personal life. It's just nice just to forget about it, go for some walks and just soak up the atmosphere and the good vibes. So had a great time there, and definitely recommend it if you want somewhere just to chill, take it easy, relax. Probably not a place I'd recommend if you're looking for a good retro game hunt. Maybe I picked the wrong day to go to CEX and the retro video game store, but still a fantastic place to go with your partner or your mates and just chill out and soak up the fantastic scenery. So let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the pickups. Let me know what you thought of the video, and let me know if you've picked up any of the Final Fantasy and Magic the Gathering cards, because they're selling out like hotcakes on eBay. They're going for double or triple the price that the MSRP price was from Magic the Gathering. So let me know if you jumped onto the hype train and you've gone down the Magic the Gathering rabbit hole. And while you're down there, in the comments, if you haven't done so already, then please hit the like button and do consider subscribing to the Collector's Quest channel. Make sure you check out the video above my head where I go through why now is the time to start collecting for the PlayStation 4. Great console, and we're doing a fantastic giveaway, so definitely check out that video, and make sure you check out all of the fantastic videos we've got coming up about car boot hunts, CEX hunts, and everything related about video game collecting. And as always, good luck on your game hunts and collecting adventures. Take it easy, YouTube, and I'll catch you in the next one.